This week on Beacon Web News, we'll begin with the developing story on the survey protests and how students and administration plan to continue forward. Then we'll hear student reactions to John Lewis being announced as the commencement speaker for this May. That's all coming up right here on BWN. Welcome to the February 15th episode of Beacon Web News. I'm Samantha Kniskern. The survey protest has the MCLA community talking and looking for answers. BWN's Dan Wohler sat down with students and administration to get their feedback.
Vice President of Student Affairs, Kathy Holbrook, described how she views the current intersectional climate on campus and how the administration is responding to the protests.
I think that the intersectional climate on campus has been very active, which I think is a very positive thing, and students have been clear. You know, they've told us that they don't think that we as an administration have heard them, that we don't see them, that they don't matter as much as they should, and while that was not the case, it's clear that that's what they thought, and they have our attention, and we want to talk and we want to work toward changing that, and their perception is what matters. We want them to understand we really do care about every student that's here and that they have a successful experience on campus.
Lawan Allen explained the campus atmosphere leading up to the student protests.
A lot of people are angry, a lot of people are sad, a lot of people are demoralized, a lot of people are just downright hurt, all the way from national government down to President Burge and what he's been able to do since he's been here. I've always been a strong advocate for President Burge, but some students feel that he hasn't done enough.
After meeting with Carlos Santiago, the Massachusetts Commissioner of Higher Education, Allen felt it was a step in the right direction.
Commissioner Santiago coming out was great. He provided us with some goals and some pathways that we could potentially take to make this a more inclusive campus. And he ensured us that we had his support in trying to do just that.
Allen is curious as to what the administration will do for current students who do not feel comfortable enough to return to campus.
The students that are saying they can't have their voices heard right now, what are we going to do to ensure that these students come back next year, which is a problem that we have at this school, is retention. And this is one of the problems, is students feel that we don't provide them with enough support. And I think going forward, that's things that we need to work on.
Robbie Gare addressed his issues with the way students went about the protesting.
I think one thing it failed to do was address kind of all the problems that are on campus. I think there's a ton of problems, whether if we're getting into the political part, whether you are left-leaning or right-leaning, there's definitely clearly a divide here, and it seems to be a little bit of a power has shifted one way.
Gare explained how he views the status of the campus community and how he intends to continue forward.
I do think it's a little bit of a hostile situation that's going on right now, but I think, like I said, if we can all kind of unite and focus on all the problems that are here, then that should help out a lot.
Brianna Bradley described how she plans to facilitate productive conversations and bridge the divide in understanding.
I feel everyone is tense right now, and I feel like a lot of people are not really willing to listen to other people. And I think by having these conversations and bringing people's attention to issues, to bridge conversations, to bridge understandings. We're not trying to devalue your personal story. We all have personal stories, and we all have things that put us at advantage, and I think we all need to be aware of that and go to things like Campus Conversations on Race. If you want to learn about the Republicans Club and what does it mean to be Republican, go to the Republicans Club meetings. I just think it's very important right now.
Vice President of Academic Affairs, Cindy Brown, appreciates the desire for dialogue between the administration and students.
What I appreciate is that our students want to have dialogue. They're not interested exclusively in just saying no or pushing back. They want change. And I think we all want change.
Thanks, Dan. BWN contributor Karen Canela asked students how they felt about MCLA announcing Congressman John Lewis as this year's commencement speaker.
MCLA has chosen John Lewis as our 118th commencement speaker for this May. Lewis is a U.S. representative from Georgia and was a leader of the civil rights movement. John Lewis was one of the Big Six leaders of groups to organize the 1963 March on Washington. Kenny Rivera thinks this is the perfect time for someone like Lewis to speak at MCLA.
I'm very excited for somebody like John Lewis to be coming on campus just because I feel like it's the right time with everything that's happening with all the protests and the tensions rising. I feel like his speech or his just being here will help settle things a little bit.
Lewis is the co-author of #1 New York Times best-selling graphic novel memoir trilogy titled March. Monica Vogel insists that Lewis's voice will resonate with many students.
I definitely think that going on like what's happening in our campus, I think we really need it, and his views are something that a lot of our student body really resonates with, and I think it would really make a lot of the students feel more at home.
Lewis led more than 600 peaceful, orderly protesters in Selma, Alabama, to demonstrate the need for voting rights in the state. Sakaya Johnson believes that MCLA is in need of more diverse voices.
I'm excited about John Lewis being the commencement speaker this year. I personally feel as though MCLA is coming to a time where we need more diversity, especially in our administration and who's speaking on this campus.
Lewis testified against the nominations of Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, leading to Trump lashing out against him on Twitter. TJ Boudreau believes that Trump's comments were unreasonable, and he looks forward to Lewis's speech.
I think the way that he was disrespected on Twitter by Trump is unreasonable, and I'm glad that he has a platform to speak out to a group of people such as MCLA.
He is the recipient of numerous awards, including the Medal of Freedom, the Lincoln Medal from the Historic Sports Theater, and the Golden Plate Award given by the Academy of Excellence. Nadia Tenorio thinks it's a speech from Lewis can help unify MCLA's community.
I think it's very important right now because in MCLA there's a lot of protests going around, and a lot of people of color want to see equality going around and want to see justice, and I think John Lewis coming here is so important so that we could get everybody involved.
Lewis has been protecting human rights his entire career, and we look forward to his speech in May. For Beacon Web News, Karen Canela.
Thanks, Karen. As part of our increasingly diverse community at MCLA, we recognize that about a quarter of our students speak Spanish, and we are happy to present the first ever Spanish language version of Karen's story.
MCLA ha elegido a John Lewis como el 118 persona para hablar este mayo. Lewis es un representador de Georgia y un líder del civil movimiento. John Lewis es uno de los 6 más grandes líderes de grupos que organizaban la marcha en Washington en el 1963. Kenny Rivera piensa que ese es el perfecto momento para que alguien como Lewis hable en MCLA.
I'm very excited for somebody like John Lewis to be coming on campus just because I feel like it's the right time with everything that's happening with all the protests and the tensions rising. I feel like his speech or his just being here will help settle things a little bit.
Lewis es uno de los autores del New York Times mejor de venta novela gráfica, memoir trilogía March. Mónica Vogel cree que la voz de Lewis va a resonar con muchos estudiantes.
I definitely think that going on what's happening in our campus, I think we really need it, and his views are something that a lot of our student body really resonates with, and I think it would really make a lot of the students feel more at home.
Lewis ha sido un líder para más de 600 personas en Selma, Alabama, para demostrar lo necesario que es de votar en el estado. Sakaya Johnson cree que MCLA necesita voces diversas.
I'm excited about John Lewis being the commencement speaker this year. I personally feel as though MCLA is coming to a time where we need more diversity, especially in our administration and who's speaking on this campus.
Lewis testificó en contra de la nominación de Jeff Sessions para el fiscal general, lo que llevó a Trump a hablar en contra de él en Twitter. TJ Boudreau cree que los comentarios de Trump eran irrazonables y espera con interés el discurso de Lewis.
I think the way that he was disrespected on Twitter by Trump is unreasonable, and I'm glad that he has a platform to speak out to a group of people such as MCLA.
Él es uno de los recipientes de muchos premios, incluyendo la Medalla de Libertad, la Medalla de Lincoln del histórico Teatro Ford y el Dorado Plato Premio dado por excelencia. Nadia Teronio piensa que dando en un discurso va a unificar la comunidad de MCLA.
I think it's very important right now because in MCLA there's a lot of protests going around, and a lot of people of color want to see like equality going around and want to see justice, and I think John Lewis coming here is so important so that we could get everybody involved.
Lewis ha trabajado su carrera entera en protegiendo los derechos humanos. Estamos muy emocionados para tenerlo como el hablador este semestre. Para Beacon Web News, Karen Canela.
Lawrence Vadnais, whom the Vadnais Lecture Series is named after, passed away at the age of 91 on February 9th. Vadnais was a retired MCLA professor who joined the institution in 1968. He went on to create the Center for Resourceful Living as a branch of the Sociology Department. There will be a Safe Zone workshop today at 3 p.m. in Murdoch 218, hosted by the Identity and Gender Equality Resource Center. To register for the workshop, email igeresourcecenter@mcla.edu. Also, the Transgender Affinity Group meets tonight at 7 p.m. in Campus Center Room 321 and has meetings every second Wednesday of the month. Roxanne Gay, an intersectional feminist author and cultural critic, is speaking at Williams College tonight, February 15th at 7 p.m. Her talk will focus on topics including free speech and safe spaces and how they connect to privilege, Black Lives Matter, and her own personal experiences. Campus Conversations on Race meets every Friday at 3 p.m. in the Sullivan Lounge. This week's meeting will focus on religion and slavery. Winter Week, sponsored by the SGA, is in full swing, and events include making your own winter pillow and enjoying frozen hot chocolate. Head to the marketplace to join the celebration. North Adams is a finalist in the second season of the Small Business Revolution, a project awarding $500,000 to help revitalize small towns and cities. The list is now down to just 5 locations from 14,000, and the competition is tight. You can cast your vote for North Adams once a day on multiple devices by visiting smallbusinessrevolution.org. Voting ends tomorrow, so make sure to vote while you still can. And we are 1 week closer to the inauguration of President Burge as the 11th president of MCLA. His inauguration is now just 65 days away. Stay updated with developing news on MCLA's campus with the help of Beacon Web News and the online beacon.com. And make sure to follow MCLA on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.